And this is where the radical transformation occurs. So he's hiding out in a cave, and he feels he's the only one left who's still an acolyte of Yahweh in the entire, Israelite polity. And a thunderstorm happens, a very, very violent thunderstorm, followed by a very violent earthquake. And Elijah realizes that God is not in the earthquake and not in the thunder, that he is instead the still small voice. That's where that phrase comes from. So it's the first marked internalization of the notion of the deity, is that whatever the highest deity is something that you can commune with internally, that is roughly equivalent, let's say, to the voice of conscience. And so that's Elijah.
Right.
So now what happens in Job is so interesting, because in the story of Job, God has a bet with Satan. It's a very nasty story, right?
It's the most brutal story.
It's a brutal story. It's a brutal story. It makes you wonder why it wasn't edited out of the biblical corpus.
And the consolation at the end isn't much of a consolation.
Well, exactly. And so Job is a good man, and God thinks so, and so does Satan. And Satan is invited by God to have a few words with him, and says, I bet you that I can destroy the faith of your good man, Job. And God says, yeah, I don't think so. Have at her, buddy. And so Job loses everything, and in the most painful possible manner. And what he does, as far as I can tell, is that he uses that internal guide of conscience, which was now, say, allied with the voice of God in some sense, against these terrible external forces that are conspiring to bring him down, right? Because his wife dies.
The children will die.
Children die.
The cattle die. He's covered in boils.
Yeah, and his friends are making fun of him because they think he must have done something to deserve this, right? So he's like taken to the bottom of reality. But he refuses to lose faith. Now, you might say, and this is where the story, I think, transcends something like mere rationality, but we can argue about that. You might say that the logical consequence, the logical conclusion from that misadventure is that Job has every rational reason to shake his fist at the sky and curse God, right? But he doesn't. He maintains faith in the goodness of being, despite the fact that he's suffering dreadfully.
Yeah.